Trump is lying so hard about the Iran deal. Let's get into that.
I want to start off with something that President Trump said last night. He's going to say a number of things in this clip here, but two of the big things is that he's going to start off by saying, "Hey, man, the Strait of Hormuz is open. Everything's going great. And by the way, we won the war."
As you know, we just achieved a historic peace agreement with Iran to end the conflict in the Strait of Hormuz. And by the way, yesterday, 19 million barrels of oil flowed out of the Strait of Hormuz, a very beautiful place.
A lot of oil did flow out, but I hear it was 15.
That's the most oil in the history of the Strait. No, it's never been any. You've never seen anything like that.
That is also a lie. It's not the biggest.
It's called an oil gush. And most importantly, we are ensuring one thing very importantly, because this is why I did it. I did it for this reason, 99% for this. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Venezuela's been great, and Iran.
It agreed to that even before the war started, by the way.
It's been great. I mean, you know, if Iran's reasonable, if they're smart, otherwise we'll have to finish the job, which will take about maybe less than a week.
That is the funniest thing. We'll finish the job. It'll take 1 week to take out Iran. You couldn't do it in, a month and a half? And do you think you could do it in 1 week now?
But they're going to be okay, I think. They're going to do what they have to do because we want to have it done.
That is absolutely wild. Trump didn't used to lie this hard about things. He's changed. This is what's actually going on in the Strait of Hormuz. This is what it was before the war. This has been what it was for the last 3.5 months. And you have this blip here. By the way, this blip is all the ships trapped in the Strait of Hormuz rushing out. This isn't new ships going in and getting oil. This is just the ships have been waiting since the strait was closed, now desperately escaping. And it's not going to be sustained.
So the oil's gushing. Everything's going good. I mean, what is more is there to say? Apparently, the problem solved.
Liar.
Yes.
I mean, it's just a flat-out lie. Okay.
Some of those outrageous lying I've heard that we could take Iran out in a week if we wanted to. If that was true, you'd take Iran out right now because your goal was regime change at the beginning of this. So if you really think you could take Iran out in a week, why not do that, Trump?
Okay. If 19 million barrels of oil came out, what were they being? What was transporting them? There are basically 4 or 5 classes of what they call large crude oil tankers. An Aframax that can do around 750,000 barrels. The Suezmax, it goes up to 1 million barrels. So I guess there are 4. The VLC, the very large crude carrier, that does around 2 million barrels. And then the ultra large crude carrier, which doesn't go into the Persian Gulf. Okay. So in the Persian Gulf, you're looking at probably the Suezmax and the VLCCs. Okay, just do the math. He said 19 million barrels. Okay, that's basically 10 ships if they're all the very large cruise carrier. If it's not the very large cruise carrier, if it's a Suezmax, that means there were 19 different ships. Okay, go to marinetraffic.com. Don't have to take my word for it, folks. You can look it up for yourself. There are not 19 ships that have gone out in the last 24 hours that are tankers. And the more important point is the ones that are transiting are not coming to the United States. They're not going to Europe. They're going to China and to India and Singapore. That's where they're going. So, you know, he's lying. It's just delusional nonsense.
Yeah. He's exaggerating the amount of oil that's coming out of the Strait of Hormuz, which is that it's not record amount of oil coming out. And he's straight up lying about having won the war and about being able to take Iran out in a week.
Bulk of the ships that are coming out are Iranian ships. The reason the other ships aren't coming out is the ones that are flagged under other countries that have been sitting in the Persian Gulf since February 28th. So they're 4 months. They've been sitting there, the very salty water, toxic almost, barnacles piling up on the ship hulls. And then just the internal systems on those ships haven't been able to be properly maintained. So let's just assume that when they declared the straits open, all of those ships immediately started sailing out. They'd have to go to a dry dock or port somewhere to get service before they could start hauling anything. But that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is there are still explosive mines in the Persian Gulf. Our own Pentagon, now Department of War, told Congress in mid-April, said, it's going to take us up to 6 months to clean out the Persian Gulf. Okay, why does that matter? Well, there's this little thing called insurance companies, like Lloyd's of London, and they don't like to insure vessels against.
I think that the mines will slow things down, but I'm not as pessimistic in that it'll take 6 months. I think that given how desperate the rest of the world is, you will have governments like the U.S. stepping in and insuring ships going through the Strait of Hormuz for just that portion of the voyage, just to get traffic moving at some point.
And getting blown out of the water, as long as they know that the potential that there are actually sea mines out there. So what their normal practice is, you sit tight, you don't move until those sea mines are removed, and we'll be in contact with the U.S. military or whoever else is doing it, where they can finally give us a clean bill of health and say, okay, you're on your own. So right there are two immediate structural problems preventing this flow of oil that he's talking about. And again, the lack of that flow of oil to the United States, that is a critical problem because, you talk to Chris Martenson and, I've been writing about it. The United States is going to be is facing a major crisis with the heavy crude because that heavy crude is used to produce aviation fuel and diesel fuel for trucks. And the refineries, when they get the oil, they have to make a choice. They can do one or they can do the other. They can't do both. They can't divide it in half, say, half here, half there. That's where our greatest shortage is. And some estimates are we only have like 2 weeks supply left. That's why Donald Trump, 2 weeks ago did that 180 and suddenly said, hey, let's sign that MOU. Sounds like a great idea. Let's get the Strait of Hormuz open as soon as possible. Trump has waited too long.
Yep.
And I wanted to go down that path a little bit more. I know you've been talking to some industry experts in here, and a couple of problems here is that during these months where everything's been shut down, almost all these countries, I think UAE and Oman might have been an exception to some degree, but I think the rest of them, and maybe even including Iran, had to shut in the oil, meaning they had to stop producing it because their storage facilities got full and there were no more empty VLCCs coming in.
Right.
So whatever ships the President Trump talked about went out last night, heading to Singapore, China, and et cetera, those were ones that...
Yeah, that's a very good point in that this blip up here, that's all the tankers exiting the strait that have been trapped there. But afterwards, it's going to have to fall down because you have ships afraid to come into the Strait of Hormuz, and also you have shut-in oil production. So it's nowhere is it going back. It's not going back to normal anytime soon.
You've just been sitting there for a long time. Now they're going out. There hasn't been a whole bunch of empty ones to come in because, first of all, they got to start getting that storage area down or the volume down so that they can start producing again, and they got somewhere to put that oil. What can you tell us about the prospect for the shut-in oil getting turned back on, and has anyone even started that process yet?
Yeah, that is what's really fascinating. So most people, and I've kept myself among the ignorant on this at the outset until I started reading and researching it. You just assume, you like an on-off, like your faucet on your kitchen sink. Turn it on, the water flows, shut it off, the water stops. You can just, no big deal. That's not how the oil wells work, and the liquid natural gas terminal in Qatar is trashed, essentially. It may be a year before that thing's even open. But for the oil...
Europe is screwed this winter.
Infrastructure, it can take potentially the fewest is days, but maybe weeks, and in some cases months, to get some of that oil back online. And just as we're talking, so the time is, look at our current time. There is, from the end of Kemps Island, there's, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 11 ships headed out. They're going to either Oman or to China in Asia. None headed to the United States. More interesting is, I don't see a single one headed into the Persian Gulf right now.
Interesting.
Not one. Just again. Oh, I take that back. There is one. What is this? This is it's called. It's an Iraqi ship, the Hadaf. And it shows its position, but it's not a big ship. But you're not seeing all these ships just rushing. Oh, great, it's open. Let's get in there. Like the Black Friday sale after Thanksgiving, where everybody's storming Best Buy or something to get their flat panel TV screen. That's not happening here. So
this ceasefire or this MOU is good, I think, because it's allowed a lot of ships to escape that had been trapped in the Persian Gulf forever. But that's getting resolved. After that, getting the flow of oil back up to normal, that's going to take a while.
And the seriousness of this disconnect on the oil market between lack of supply should be accompanied by higher price. I mean, just the whole notion of supply and demand. But what we've seen is a complete disconnect. It's like the lower the supply, the lower the price. And you know, and I've heard others like Chris Martinson comment. And I've been scratching my head about it too. I had a comprehensive PhD comprehensive field in international economics.
Oh, I saw this back in Food Stuff, 2009, 2010. When they need prices go a certain direction because of derivatives, that's taken place. Right now, I expect oil to hit like 150 before the end of July. End of August. My bad. End of August. It's going to bounce back up, way up, before the end of August. This is insane. You look what has happened in terms of how much oil you've taken off the market, and you have oil that's right now about where it was before the war started. It's just insane. You can't take all this oil off the market and expect it to have no impact on the price.
Economics. So I understand a little bit of this. And this makes no damn sense.
Yep.
I mean, it absolutely, it's like, what the hell's going on? It's like going,
It's market manipulation.
2 + 3 = fish. And you go,
2 + 3 = fish. I like that one.
what's
There's
sort
a
of
lot of that going around these days,
Yeah.
actually.
I'm going to skip to a different video.
So Iran and Oman put out a joint press statement today. I believe it was this morning. Everyone's acting like this energy crisis has ended, but has it?
No, it hasn't.
I mean, I don't think it has. And it's quite possible that the people who believe that this is all over are going to get blindsided
Yep.
in a significant way. Look, just if you know a little bit about history in Iran and the Middle East, that's really all you need to know. This isn't that complicated. Honestly, this desperation for good news is tiring. I just want the truth. For once in your life, tell me the truth. So what's true right now?
That's
What is actually true right now? Despite the deal and the photo op, handshakes, whatever. What's actually true? What's true is that the strait is still mined.
yep.
And while the president claims there's record amounts of oil flowing from the strait,
That's a lie.
the fact is the number of ships moving through the strait are about 1/3 of what they were pre-war. That's what's true.
Even less than that.
That is 1,000% true.
Yep.
Pentagon officials have told the Armed Services Committee it could take 6 months to clear the Strait of the Mines. I'm not so sure about that. I don't know about that. But the fact of the matter is, even when Iran says the strait is open, it's, you know, the reality is the waterway remains one of the most dangerous shipping lanes on Earth. The reality is insurance premiums reflect that. They're roughly 8 to 10 times what they are if you're not passing through the Strait of Hormuz. The reality is
Yeah. What is actually true right now? That's what we all want to know. Yes.
there's hundreds and hundreds. I believe the number yesterday was 440. 440 ships that would not return to the Persian Gulf once leaving the Persian Gulf. And that was something we have talked about. It's one thing to get them out of there. Will they return? Because they must return, and they must continue returning. And they must continue returning in the numbers that they were doing so before the war.
That's not going to happen for a while.
Another thing that is true is that the 60-day window is obviously temporary, and it's already been violated, I think, 3 times now.
Yep.
That is true. And since Israel is not a party to this deal, as we know, they're showing no willingness to stop what they're doing in Lebanon. So what's going to happen after the 60 days? Another thing that is true is that global oil inventories are still devastated. The strait was closed for nearly 4 months. I can't believe it was that long.
Nearly all of this, in this graphic, all of this missing oil was drawn down from global oil reserves. We're beginning, and the reason Trump finally did the deal is because we're getting towards the end of those global reserves. And when there's no more reserves to draw down on, then you need the price to soar to reduce demand. And we're getting very near to that moment. And this little thing here, which won't be sustained, I think it's probably stabilized at like 1/5 of what it was before. That's not enough to sort out the oil markets.
We've lost over 1 billion barrels of oil. Gone.
Yep.
The Strategic Petroleum Reserve is down to its lowest levels since 1983, I believe it is. And oil companies are now refusing, in large part, to take oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. 400 million barrels or 40 million barrels offered, only 500,000 accepted in the latest round. And that is because oil companies don't believe that prices are going to fall far enough for them to profit on the SPR oil anymore. That's how an exchange works. You borrow oil at high prices, you give it back at low prices, and you can give back extra, the 20% premium that the United States wants, and you can still make money. By not accepting oil from the SPR, what they're saying is we believe prices are not going to fall back to pre-war levels and stay there. That's what they're saying.
Yep.
But at the same time, hedge funds have placed a record amount of shorts in the oil markets. So the hedge funds believe oil is going to collapse. Oil companies are like,
I
yeah,
watched a video from that represent the hedge fund view, and it's really wild. They're like, they explain everything away. They think there's no trouble in oil. I nearly want to watch it just because of how insane it is. But some people might watch it think it's real, so no, I won't.
I don't know about that. The market is completely dislocated. People don't know what to do. There's confusion. The administration chased away 75% of the people in the market with the market manipulation. That's why oil is.
Yeah, I honestly believe people talk about, oh, the market is good for this price discovery and to see where things are going, and you look at the future price of oil in the market and that tells you what traders think. Well, no, if you have massive manipulation in the market that is overriding the savvy traders, the traders that, a whole bunch of honest brokers in the oil market saw it close to the Strait of Hormuz and placed bets that oil would go up to 150 because that's what should have happened. And then never did because of market manipulation. And if you're dealing with a market that's manipulated, that has nothing to do with the fundamental reality, like there's nothing you can do as an intelligent trader. I mean, you can know all the facts, know all the inventory levels of oil, know all the production statistics, everything. But if it's just some behind the scenes guy who's just manipulating the price to whatever Wall Street needs, so the price is completely disconnected from reality right now in the oil market. And it's going to shoot up. The one thing that can override market manipulation is actual physical shortage. It happens pretty regularly in gold, as they try to manipulate the price there. And shortages drive the price back up. That's what's going to happen in oil in the next 2 months.
Is $73 or $4 today and not 100. That is the whole the current fundamental state of the oil market, the global oil market. Oil should at least be $100 easy. The current global oil market is in significantly worse shape than it was in 2022 when Joe Biden was the president and oil hit 120. It's a lot worse.
Yes, that's worth looking at. This is a trap. This is 2022. Look, it went higher in 2022, but we're dealing with massive disruptions, huge amount, $1 billion barrels of oil gone, vanished, poof. And the price never goes up to above what it went in 2022. By the way, this is market manipulation too, in the upwards direction back then. So they've held the price of oil down. I warned the first days of the war they would do that. Now, after this right here, they're unloading. They're getting out of all their derivative positions. They're repositioning themselves. and it'll spike back up very soon.
And oil's at 73. Now, people will celebrate that because, naturally they care about what they're paying at the pump. That's understandable. That
Black Earth Farm in Russia never got going, unfortunately, because of real world complications. Never got the fund set up. But the investment would have done very well. And that's the annoying part, but it's the way life is.
That's understandable. But the fact of the matter is, there is a strong possibility that in the near future, and by near future, I mean days, a potential short squeeze in the oil markets that could send it God knows where. What is also true is that it could absolutely collapse.
I don't know about that one. And besides, what is this? This is absolutely collapsed, pretty much. It's gone nearly back down to pre-war levels.
Nobody on the planet has had any experience in the type of disruption, the amount of propaganda and lies, and the concentration of market manipulation. No one on this planet has ever witnessed an event anything like this.
I did. I just showed it the other day. It's in wheat, price, history. It's just very easy thing. Right, this time period right here. We had a record shortfall. This is a logarithmic graph, so you see the distance isn't. It gets shorter as you go up. So this is what we're doing right now with oil prices. This is Wall Street trying to manipulate the price down as much as possible. When there's actually a physical shortfall, goes all the way up to 9, from like 250 to 9. So over 3 times more. That's the type of upward shift we're going to see in oil markets. And food and oil is different. It moves faster in oil. It's consumed faster. So it's not going to be as drawn out as it was in the food market. So next 2 months is when you're going to start seeing price of oil skyrocket.
Which means no one can predict with as much certainty as they would have historically had what's going to happen. That's why hedge funds have record shorts while oil companies are turning down oil, because those two positions are diametrically opposed to each other. Oil companies and hedge funds. You don't often see oil companies and hedge funds having diametrically opposing views on where oil prices are going to go. That's not something that happens, but that's what's happening right now.
Mainstream media is a powerful force, and Wall Street, things like the Wall Street Journal propagandizing trading, and it managed to turn them all short, and they're all going to get crushed.
Now, the market is pricing in a resolution, but it's also doing it with about 25% of the action that it normally has. What the market historically and should fundamentally be pricing in is a rolling series of disruptions. They should be pricing in that the Strait could be open for days or maybe a week and then closed for 3 days, maybe a week, open again with restrictions, closed again when Israel hits Beirut. Transit fees starting after 60 days, insurance premiums, 8 to 10x what they normally are. Production ramping much slower. Inventories rebuilding at a fraction of the rate they were drained. This is what the market should be pricing.
Yep.
The problem is there's nobody there to do it. Oil didn't drop because the crisis is over. Oil dropped because whatever traders are left in the market are betting on a future that hasn't happened yet. And every time in the last 4 months that the market has bet on a resolution, the ceasefire in April, Project Freedom in May, final stages in late May, reality has intervened with missiles, mines, and a lot of broken promises. The pattern is very, very clear. The MOU is simply a piece of paper, but the mines are real. The insurance premiums are real. The storage tanks in Tokyo and Rotterdam that are empty, those are real.
Yep, they're
The
real.
wells that won't restart for many months, those are real. The MOU is a piece of paper. So I would say the energy crisis is not over. It's just entered a new phase. A phase where everyone thinks it's over, which is exactly when it becomes the most dangerous. Because complacency is the one thing that a fragile energy market cannot survive.
I wanted to put this wheat price chart in more context. This is an article I have from April 2010, right here. This is about where I published this article, and it was about the propaganda that USDA had been unleashing on the market, like record soybean production. USDA estimates for 29-10. This is you see how it raises its estimates for the crops in the United States, up and up and up. That was what was behind this fall in crops all the way down. It was these insane estimates, like August. Right here, August, it started raising and doing these insane estimates. And that's what drove the price down. And it had nothing to do with reality. That's why you had wheat prices go up to 9 over the next year. I've seen this happen before, where this market is completely, all fundamentals suggest that, like, wheat should have been much higher than it is. And what happened then? Well, wheat went much, much higher. That's our situation in oil right now. The situation, yes, oil is falling. And that's just like this here. It's going to go way up. Yep, the year after the housing bubble blew up. Exactly. This, I covered it, had an entire tag called Food Crisis. And, yeah, the 2010 food crisis is taking shape. And that food crisis I was talking about, that was... I'd say food going up, like tripling in price, that's a pretty big food crisis. I'm just saying, he said no one's ever seen something like this, but that was this exact same situation. It's food. There was record shortfall of food because of various disasters, agricultural disasters in the United States and around the world. And that created a shortage and drove prices through the roof. And at that time, there was market manipulation by the USDA. That is the key point. Just like today, they're manipulating the oil markets. Back then, you had estimates for 2009, 2010. Look at that. Up, 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 up. If these had been true, you wouldn't have had a food shortage next year. Well, anyway, this will be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Come watch or kick our Twitch, and I'll see you next video. Bye.